Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk to you about why I went from AWS to Railway. So I started out with AWS because I had taken a course back in spring of 2025. So I thought, hey, this will work out pretty well. I started out with Elastic Beanstalk, which in the whole scheme of, AWS ecosystem is pretty simple. And it worked out well for a while, but then I started having problems. So I did some research and looked at perhaps the simplest option in the AWS ecosystem, which is AppRunner. AppRunner is serverless and pretty well. But I took a week to set up and I didn't even get it working. So that was a no-go. So another thing is the cost. Here's what I spent in the month of October on AWS. So if you know what you're doing, which I don't, AWS is a cost saver. But for people that really don't know what they're doing and end up spending lots of extra cost, it's not a good investment. So I started out with DigitalOcean, which I would call kind of AWS light. Um, and my stepdad Mark had good things to say about it, but still, it was too complicated for my needs. Now, for static sites, think HTML, CSS, JavaScript, I used Netlify, which I would call the king of simplicity. You upload a GitHub repo and you're good to go. Here's a map website that I made where all the static data was stored on the front end. It was built for my dad, who works in county government. So I was actually not just building one site, but three sites. The first was Thrive Thursdays, an event landing page for a summer wellness program, which I made static. The second was CocoMap, a map of demographic data for my dad's office, which I also made static. And the last was Farebox, a data visualization tool for nationwide transit data, which I made dynamic, or full stack. To view my portfolio, view the links in the description. I ended up using Railway. Why? Three reasons. Unlike Netlify, it can handle both static and dynamic sites. Two, it is simple to use. Unlike AWS, it's a platform as a service. It manages the infrastructure, so I can focus on the code, not the configuration. And three, it's affordable. Unlike AWS, it has clear usage-based pricing, so you don't wake up to a surprise $500 bill. Railway is a visually stunning platform. Let me show you why. Once you open a project, you land here on the canvas. This is the heartbeat of your application. Unlike a traditional list of files or services, the canvas gives you a visual map of your architecture. You can see your front end, back end, and database all living together in one space. At the top, you can toggle between different environments. Think of these as isolated clones of your entire setup. I use this feature heavily for my Cocoa map. I have a staging environment where I work on datasets that aren't quite ready for production. Once I'm sure the app looks right, I can promote these changes to production. One last thing is the cost. Note that it's very cheap compared to AWS. If you look at the breakdown by project, you'll notice that the most cost goes towards the full stack application because I'm running a MySQL and backend service. Also, if you wanted to optimize the front end applications, you could put them on Netlify, which are basically free. So that's why I chose Railway as a platform. It's made my development workflow much easier.